So hello and welcome to my first and possibly only theory video, because I normally not want to theorize about games. But this has been on my mind for a long time, and after watching a lot of story videos about game development in the Final Fantasy series, and especially a few other theories, I suddenly came to a realization about the one caveat that is totally and utterly, at least for myself, abhorrent in Final Fantasy 15, and that is the depiction of Bahamut, because it is totally and in every way different from every other iteration that Bahamut ever had. And that is because in my mind, it was never meant that Bahamut was never meant to be in the game, and was shoehorned in because he was the only logical option they could take. Sorry. But first a little bit of lore, not really that much. I'm trying to keep it short. So the story of the world is literally a millennia ago, a plague, they named the Scourge, came from the stars and infected the people of the land to turn them into monsters. But the 6 deities of the world tried to solve the problem and couldn't find any means to do it themselves. So Bahamut, one of them, and I think it is meant to be the highest of the beings, had the brilliant idea to use a human to solve their problem by giving him the power to take the Scourge into him and keep it. And he promised that human that he would be able to save the world and be a beacon of hope for the whole world. That person was Arden Kylo, who had a little brother named Somnus Kylo. So Arden, being the good Samaritan that he was in his own soul, of course took that opportunity with his whole life, wandered through the world, and healed everyone that he could find from the Scourge. But as he was nearing his completion, he of course wanted to get rid of the Scourge and get the reward for being from Bahamut that he wanted, which was to become king of Lucis, become the first king of Lucis. But Bahamut tricked Arden, because the crystal that he gave him for the scourging, to remove the Scourge once and for all, could never be touched by one person infected with the Scourge. So healing Arden was impossible, which meant that Arden would have needed to be killed by his brother Somnus, who was the first king of Lucis. But of course Somnus also couldn't, but of course as the Scourge was not completely removed from the world, there was no chance to do that, so they imprisoned Arden to keep the Scourge at bay for all eternity, in a way, until all the Scourge was inside Arden to be killed. Which is then, of course, Noctis. At the time of Noctis Lucicalum, that would have been the time of the prophecy, where where all of the Scourge could be removed. But so they kept him for millennia imprisoned. Slowly, all of the Scourge came to Arden himself, until through some trickery, I don't really know why, because I never played the chapter on. The Nephilim Empire found Arden imprisoned, and Arden, in a way, tricked them to free him, and I think he promised them to give them the power of Lucis. But, as we all know, because spoilers, that didn't play out, because Arden only wanted to be freed to turn the world into a full-on Scourge with him as the marking point, and in a way to trick Bahamut to have revenge on Bahamut, even so he wanted to remove the Scourge. Because I'm still quite sure Arden wanted to be killed by Noctis. And it is, in a way, in the final fight, really implied that Arn wanted to die by the hand of Noctis with his gun and free the world from the Scourge once for all. Because I think he was still the good samurai. He just wanted to do it not on the terms of Bahamut anymore. So, but that aside, but the one problem is that for Final Fantasy, for this game, they totally changed Bahamut in any way form because also made human, he had a human face and a armor, and for some reason suddenly was only so of slowly using the swords of judgment, as they are even called. They are even called the swords of judgment. Space to stop. Now for the thing, because as you can see, this is a totally new Bahamut. According to my theory that I now have, Bahamut was never meant to be in this game. 100%. There was a different Eidolon always meant to be in this game. And the whole thing about him being human is not even in that, because he was always, in a way, a bipedal dragon. He always had wings on his back, had 2 front arms and 2 legs. So he was always human, it was not really, and that there were only human summons is also wrong, because we also have Leviathan, who is still the water snake. So only Leviathan is a bit, in a way, animal summon, the rest are all human, even Bahamut. And I think that Bahamut was never meant to be in the game, because him being in the game with his ability set does not fit in the Bahamut that was ever in the game. And as I have said to a few other YouTube videos of certain elements of the game, and especially of Final Fantasy VII, I now have the complete theory that Square Enix needed to shoehorn couldn't make a new shoehorn summon for Final Fantasy 15 that would have fit, because in all of their time they never put in. They did experimented with changing other summons. For example, in Final Fantasy VIII, Quetzalcoatl was changed in for Ramuh to be the Thunder summon, and the brother and the 2 Minotaurs. The brother's summon was the reflection of was the new Titan, the new Earth Elemental. But I think they wanted, but they didn't. But for Final Fantasy 15, they wanted a certain summon that was already a staple in the series, with a certain ability set that would have fit perfectly. But they had one major problem. They didn't have the copyright for that summon, because that belonged to someone else. That normally had no problem with giving them that one summon, that one copyright for the game, for using that summon. And I think people that have seen, that have watched a lot of videos about the Final Fantasy games know already which one it is, and who the person is that holds that very specific copyright. Because more fitting than anything else, if you think about it and think very hard, the summon that would fit the whole holy crusade thing of curing a scourge and being so adamant about any other way into this is Alexander. The holy summon, the holy wall of defense, whose attack is also known as Holy Judgment. So the Swords of Judgment the Holy Judgment came the Sword of Judgment of Bahamut. And now the question, why did Square Enix have the rights? Because the sole rights owner for every iteration of Alexander is Tetsuya Nomura. Because in Final Fantasy VII, he made Alexander and is the sole copyright owner of Alexander. And now this also explains why Square Enix could never get Alexander for Final Fantasy 15, because they killed his project Final Fantasy Versus 13, which became Final Fantasy 15, and kicked him out. So I think there was a little bit of bad blood there, and they couldn't, of course, Tetsuya Nomura would never give them the rights to use Alexander in this game, so they needed to shoehorn Bahamut into the game. And if you think about it, the model of Bahamut in the game, especially with the crown that he's wearing, the dragon crown, is very much Alexander in a way. The stoic, never bending Alexander. But as you can see, that is everything that I have for this. Please leave in the comments what you think about this theory. I know not many people will see it, but I thank you all, and I'm now signing off.